Hello and welcome to everyone. Today my guest is Canadian MMA fighter Christien Savoie. So Christian, can you please say a few sentences on yourself, put a brief introduction, so on, and we can continue. Go for it.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm a professional MMA fighter training out of New Brunswick, Canada. 8-0, top UFC prospect. Uh, yeah.
Great, amazing. When did you start your MMA journey? When did you start training MMA? I mean, as a kid, as a toddler, as a high school.
So I originally started doing Taekwondo when I was 6 years old. And I did pretty good at Taekwondo. Then around the age of 14, 15, I got introduced to MMA. And that's really when it all began for me, and I haven't stopped since.
Yeah, it looks amazing, you know. So, according to your record and according to what I've seen from YouTube's videos, I'd say you're a striker. Am I right or wrong?
You're right, man, but I'm also a grappler. I would consider myself a very well-rounded fighter. I don't, if I were to label myself, I wouldn't call myself a striker or a grappler, you know. I can do it all, and I'm going to take you where you're weak and I'm strong. That's my game plan every fight.
It's amazing. So, an intelligent fighter, you know, it's really, really good because many fighters usually stick to their weak and powerful sides, but you stick to where's the hole in the game plan. So that's amazing. That's really amazing. Do you have a nickname?
What's that, sorry?
Do you have a nickname? Like maybe,
Yeah, Tiger. The
yeah,
Tiger.
why Tiger?
It was actually an old Muay Thai coach of mine. I used to train at a gym called Crouching Tiger Muay Thai, and he was the first real coach to kind of take me under his wing. You know, he'd give me gas money just so I could get to the gym. You know, like he used to train me for free pretty much every single day. And he was the one who kind of came up with the name Tiger. So it's, I just kind of, I've went with it ever since.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when you mention Muay Thai is Tiger Muay Thai, so I assume that has something to do with that.
Yeah, it's not Tiger Muay Thai. His gym was called Crouching Tiger Muay Thai, so I don't want to get them confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, Muay Thai and Tiger seem to go hand in hand, eh?
So, who are your coaches?
In my small town, I work with a man named Chris Peters. He's my boxing coach. I work with John Kelly, who is my jiu-jitsu and still Taekwondo coach. Um, I work with Matt Forgy, who's my strength conditioning coach. And I work with Ilya Abulov, who's my wrestling coach. But also I travel, I've been to Milwaukee. I've trained under Duke Rufus recently. I recently just got back from New Zealand, trained at City Kickboxing. I worked a lot with, not a lot, but as long as I was there, I worked with Doug Vinny, and I got to get to know Eugene a little bit. So I'm all over the place, man. But from my small town, those guys I just mentioned.
Do you have the favorite strike?
I haven't landed it yet, but I definitely like my spinning things. I love spinning back kicks. I love, spinning heel kicks, and I love devastating, flashy things. So, and I'm gonna land it soon.
I assume it as I'm also Taekwondo black belt, I'm also kickboxer for a very long time, and Taekwondo's trademarks are spinning kicks, especially the entertaining ones. So whenever a Taekwondo fighter enters the octagon, the first thing that comes to my mind is spinning kick or high kick. I don't know whether you agree with me or not.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, that's the beautiful part about Taekwondo and coming from a Taekwondo background is that you have the fluent abilities to be able to throw things like that, you know? Like I said, I haven't landed any in my fights yet. I've thrown them, but yeah, they're gonna catch somebody sometime.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to happen. Can you discuss, elaborate your amateur MMA career? Can you please talk about it? Your amateur fights, which was the hardest one? How were the fights? And go for it.
So I had three amateur fights. It was very, very, very hard for me to get fights. So yeah, I only end up doing three amateur MMA fights. I think the total combined amount of time I spent fighting amateur MMA was like 3.5 minutes. So it means it was all quick fights, and I won them all. So I wouldn't say, no ego aside, I wouldn't say any of them were really challenging. Yeah, nothing really surprised me during my amateur career.
Yeah, I agree, but when you transitioned to professional waters, it was kinda different, I guess. So, how was your professional debut? Were you afraid before the fight? How did you feel? I mean, that's a big step in anybody's life.
Yeah, I tell everybody when I'm backstage before a fight, I always have these thoughts go in my head. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I'm about to get in this cage and fight in front of my family and friends. This stuff is crazy, but yeah, then I just get in there and I do my thing, man. And my first professional fight actually was a really, really competitive fight. I fought a guy who was also undefeated as an amateur, and him and I basically just beat each other up. And I stopped him at the end of the second round. I started to take over, but it was a very competitive fight, and it definitely gave me a good insight of what my career path is gonna look like.
Amazing. Then you fought Cole Feltzner two times, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did it go? I mean, is he a hard opponent, or what do you think of him?
Yeah, man, he's a Canadian Muay Thai champion. So he's a good striker. I felt like I outstruck him both fights, but he's a good fighter, and but I knew my advantage going into those fights was my grappling, and the first fight we went all three rounds. I won every round. Then the second fight I took him down early and I knocked him out. But yeah, he's a great fighter, and I'm happy I had those experiences.
In your next fight, you won via split decision, right?
Yeah.
So I assume it was the toughest opponent you've ever met, or?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I would have never said anything if I lost the fight. But since I won, I've told people, man, I went into that fight with like a bad flu. Like I was sick. And again, I wouldn't say anything if he won, and I'm not taking anything away from him because the guy was a very, very strong, physically imposing man. But yeah, man, that was a fight where I remember it was like 30 seconds into the fight, I was clinching with him, and I was just thinking to myself, like, I can't feel my legs. I was so exhausted. And I remember telling my coach in between rounds, I was like, hey, I'm tired. Like, I'm sick, man. Like, you guys all know I'm sick. He's like, get that out of your head. He's like, look at him. And I look at my opponent. He's kind of like hands on his knees. And that's the only thing that psychologically made me feel better and get through that fight. So it was a competitive fight. It wasn't a split decision. I clearly won 2 rounds to 1, but it was a great experience.
But yeah, in the next fight, I mean, you were way better against Chris Lee, right?
Yes, yeah. That was a fight where I really wanted to punish the guy in a sense because he missed weight and got a card canceled prior to that, and now I wanted to fight him, and then he missed weight again against me, so I definitely wanted to make him pay for that, and I I won the Elite One middleweight title in my hometown, so that was a pretty spectacular moment in my life.
First question, why was your fight against James LeBlanc cancelled? He was my guest. That's question number one. Question number two, when I spoke to him, he said that Quebec Commission tolerates 5 or 10 pounds for amateurs. So is this rule still active or not?
He said what?
Quebec amateur, you know, when you fight in Quebec as an amateur, they have 5 or 10 pound differences between weight classes. You know, there might be 10 pounds of difference between fighters. One can weigh 185, the other can weigh 195, but only for amateurs.
Yeah, so what are you asking me? Like, he said he didn't want to fight because there was a weight difference?
No, he didn't say that. I'm just asking you, do you know something about that rule? Is this still active or not? And
No,
you don't?
no, I don't. No, sorry, I got confused by that, but no, I don't know anything about that.
Alright, and the second question, why was your fight against Julian LeBlanc actually cancelled? What happened?
I mean, apparently he blew his knee. He blew his knee out on the way to the airport. That's what I was told by the promoter. Since then, I actually, I spoke to Julian online. He told me his perspective. I don't know what to believe, man. I don't know the guy. All I know is that, he almost got an entire show canceled because he didn't show up at the last minute. So, you know what, man? I'll give the guy the benefit of the doubt, but it's weird to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was my guest, and he said that he was one of the unluckiest men ever. Many of his fights were cancelled. Sometimes it was even a snowstorm, and such things. So, are snowstorms often where you live?
Yeah, they happen. Yeah, during wintertime it can be. We get snowstorms. Our fight wasn't canceled due to a snowstorm,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have much of an opinion on that guy, to be honest. I would like to meet him in person, and before I get an opinion. I was really pissed off that I feel like he, kind of didn't show up to our fight, for whatever reason he has. But anyways, it is what it is.
Yeah.
He's kind of friends with Dave LeDuc, who's a friend of mine. So that's why I'm kind of like just being a little nicer, I guess.
Yeah, I assume. I'd really like to watch you two in the octagon. I'd really like to watch you two because both of you are great fighters, actually. So, in your next fight, how did it go?
Good. So considering he didn't show up, I fought a guy. A guy stepped up at the very last minute, the day before weigh-ins. Flew on a plane overnight just to make weigh-ins and fight me. He was a 2-2 light heavyweight, and yeah, it was good, man. He probably hit me the hardest I ever got hit in a fight rather. But yeah, I took him down and beat the crap out of him within 2 minutes. So that was an interesting fight because, as you mentioned, I was supposed to fight Julian, and I was training for a tall southpaw. And then at the last minute, they gave me a completely different body type opponent and completely different style. So it was interesting to adapt to, but I got it done as usual.
You said you trained for a southpaw. When you switched to a different fighting style, to an orthodox fighter, to probably a grappler from striker or whatever, did you have a hard time adapting to your new opponent?
Yeah, man, I think it was more of a mental thing, just because when I was training to fight Julian, again, I was sparring with a lot of southpaws. My training partners were going southpaw, and I just had a set game plan, and I knew how I was going to beat him. And when they switched opponents, it just kind of like it was very, very uncomfortable because I was very confident going into that Julian fight, and then they give me a completely different opponent and everything different, but again, it was a great learning experience, and I'm happy it happened.
Great. Did you win one of your fights via cut? Doctor stopped it, or
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was
So that
that
was
one?
the fight after. Yeah, I fought a guy named Aldrich Keith, and yeah, I basically elbowed him till the doctor had to stop the fight.
So it happens, right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess. In
yeah.
it.
I think I. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. You wanted to say something. Go ahead, say.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think it was a right hand that opened him up, and yeah, it was a fight that had some controversy. And but yeah, all in all, I'm satisfied with it, man. It was pretty much 5 minutes of me on top of him, beating him up, and I'm happy with the work I put in. And in the end, like the doctor stopped the fight because he had a giant leisure on his face. So win's a win. He couldn't continue.
Absolutely. In your last fight, you defeated Pat Carroll, right? Pretty much quickly.
Yeah, that was actually it was a 25-minute fight. But yeah, it was a good fight. I felt like it was the first fight in a long time where I kind of got loose and comfortable out there, and I was kind of trying out new things, and it wasn't my best performance, and there's a lot of things that I could have done better. But all in all, I fought a really good guy, and I feel like I dominated him all 5 rounds. So it was a good experience, and I feel like a lot of people prior to that fight questioned my cardio and things like that. A lot of people thought if you brought me out the first couple rounds that I was going to be easier to beat, and I feel like I got stronger as the rounds went on. So it's gonna be tough to beat me, man.
Yeah, it has to be. So, I don't know. When I spoke to Anthony Romero, he was explaining me how does the things work with Dana White Contender Series. What do you think? How do they pick guys for invitations, and what is their dominant criteria? Do you know something on that?
No, not a whole lot, man. I know that they're looking for top prospects around the world. I think they're looking for guys who may just bring a big following with them, and I think the fact that I'm kind of like a French Canadian, Acadian, I can talk, I can fight, I feel like I have a good case for it. At the end of the day, man, this sport is about fighting, but what it really comes down to is how many people are going to pay to come watch you fight. We're entertainers. If you're not able to do these kind of things like talk fluently on camera and just express yourself, man, like I can't see you're going to have a disadvantage. So yeah, what I'm getting at, man, is you need to be able to fight, and you need to be able to entertain, and yeah.
Yeah, that's the reason why there were not many fighters from my state. For example, Blagoy Ivanov, he had a problem in the beginning because, in Bulgaria, not everybody knows English here, that's the problem. And many fighters were having a problem with reaching UFC, but luckily Blagoy is trained in Nevada, so he learned it pretty much well. But yeah, I assume it's a dominant factor too. So you need to know a bit of English, a bit of good English, and you need to know to fight, right?
Yeah, I never even considered that, to be honest. I figured like, um, sorry, where did you say you're from?
I'm Bulgarian. Bulgarian. Do you?
Bulgarian, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know
So
Blagoy Ivanov? He fought Derek Lewis. I was born in the same city like him.
I know who he is now. Yeah, now you mention him. Yeah, and I figured that like fighters that come from Bulgaria or these different ethnicities, like I figured that you guys would kind of have an advantage because there's so many, guys to speak English and things like that. You know what I mean? So I figured that because of that, it would almost be an advantage to him. But I never considered that if you can't speak English, that might affect some things. So yeah.
Yeah, like Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo has never spoken a single word, and he was the champ for a very long time. So yeah, it makes sense. Would you like to add something to this interview? Is there something that we potentially missed?
No, man. I mean, yeah, just expect to be seeing me on the big screen here soon, and I'm looking forward to entertaining you guys.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for this lovely interview. I will publish it. It's your time tomorrow morning. You can check it. I will send you video.
What time is it right now? Is that what you said?
Here it's 6:30 p.m. and I will publish your video early morning your time tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, man. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I will send you the video, so no worries. I will send it to you.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate it. And
All
thank you
right.
for reaching out. Eh?
All right. Have a great day. Thank you, and I hope to see you on the big screen soon.
Thanks, man. You too.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Goodbye.